Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Hey, happy Tuesday to you, Sports IQ. Glad you're here with us in case you're just joining us. And we've got some people coming in. Lincoln, Nebraska joins us this week. We've got Elgin, Illinois, Chicago joining us next week. We're excited. Can't wait. Jacksonville, Illinois, Dublin, Georgia. Everyone else, we've got some other people coming too. We don't want to get it too far ahead, but some other markets joining us. And of course, those of you joining us on the podcast on Spotify, on Apple, thrilled you're here. And as you know, if you don't know, ask those who do. We just do great conversation every day. It's an hour. We don't yell. We don't make fun. We don't call names. We don't curse. It's a lot of fun. Literally, your grandma or your kids can listen to it. It's a family show, but it's all about sports. So if you want to try to get them involved in sports, yeah, let's listen to this thing because we got some great guests. Fantastic guests today, as always. In just a couple of minutes, Lo Yarnall, our friend from Yahoo Sports, is here to talk a little WNBA as the playoffs continue tonight after taking yesterday off for a travel day. Also, a bit later, some great matchups this weekend, and one is I've got to go look this up, and I promise to do this. I may not get a chance here today. It's the very start of the show. But by tomorrow, I'll try to go find out if Illinois and Indiana have ever met in football, both in the top 25 or in the top 20. I don't think it's ever happened, but it's right now. Indiana 19, Illinois is at number 8 in the AP. Shannon Griffith, the coach, is joining us, Indiana podcaster, longtime coach, and we'll get his thoughts here. Producer Tony's going to talk with him a bit later on here in the show. And again, coming a bit later this week, we've got, talking about WNBA, we have one of the executives in the Atlanta Dream will be joining us on the show. Can't wait for that. Evan Bland talking Nebraska. We'll talk some Steelers. Our friend Ray Fittipaldo is coming on. So we've got a lot coming up here this week. We can't wait to get to it all. Let's start with a couple of headlines very quickly. NFL, 2 Monday night games last night to close out week 2. Bucs QB Baker Mayfield. Boy, he was outstanding last night, wasn't he? 11-play, 80-yard drive capped off by Rachaad White's 2-yard touchdown run with 6 seconds left as Tampa Bay rallied to beat Houston in Texas 20-19. The Texans had taken the lead on a Nick Chubb 25-yard touchdown run with just over 2 minutes to play before the Bucs went on their game-winning drive. In the nightcap, the Chargers improved to 2-0. How about that? Jim Harbaugh, what he's doing out there in L.A. 2-0, second straight division win. That's big, beating the Las Vegas Raiders 20-9. And the birthday boy, Pete Carroll, takes the loss on his 24th birthday on Monday. The Chargers defense setting the tone early, picking off Raiders QB Geno Smith on the very first play from scrimmage. And by the way, LA picking off Geno 3 times total, held the Raiders to only 213 yards of offense. The blight on the win, though, was losing all-pro linebacker Khalil Mack in the first quarter with a severe elbow injury. He was on the sidelines with his arm in a brace, and Coach Harbaugh said he'll have an MRI sometime today. Welcome back here, WNBA. The playoffs continue with a couple of game 2s tonight. Now, again, with the new format, all the series go there. It's a 1-1-1 format. So, every team is guaranteed at least one home playoff game. That was not the case in the past. So, we saw Atlanta get game 1 win at home on Sunday. They are at Indiana tonight for game 2, trying to close out that series. And then we saw Las Vegas handle Seattle at home Sunday night. The late game tonight is the Aces at the Storm. All that begins 7:30 Eastern. It's on ESPN. Joining us once again, friend of the show, Lo Yarnall from Yahoo Sports. Always good to have you on, Lo. We're just talking just now that some have been watching football. You and I were focused on the W, and there was some really great action on Sunday.
Yeah, it was a heavy sports day on Sunday. There was a lot of really great action. And I think in particular, that Liberty Mercury game that went to OT, I would say that one was the best game of the day, but all of them, I mean, it's the playoffs. These teams can really put forth some good basketball and go head to head. And I think in particularly these 2 games that are coming tonight, those are the series that are kind of feels like they could be anybody's game. So I'm excited to see how the rest of the playoffs shake out.
Yeah, I want to bounce around a little bit. We'll get to tonight's games in a minute, but I do want to talk about that Mercury Liberty game. I find it intriguing. One, Well, one, Stewie, Brianna Stewart now injured again, and what's her status, for game 2 and moving forward? That's a problem because we talked about, they rarely had their big three of Stewie, Sabrina Ionescu, Jonquel Jones, and their starting lineup at the same time. They finally get them healthy. I think for the season finale and the regular season, and now here we are again. But they're a team, the defending champs, that if they're healthy, they're as dangerous as anybody. And there's a Phoenix team as well that was hot early on. They kind of cooled off second half, but they have the goods. They could make a deep run. So it feels like any one of these two could really give Minnesota some problems coming up here in the semifinals.
I think with this series in particular, like you mentioned about that 1-1 home game series, if Mercury couldn't win this first one at home, good luck trying to beat the Liberty on their home court. The Liberty are known for being one of the best atmospheres to play in the W. And I really enjoyed watching DeWanna Bonner and Stewie go up against each other. And I'm, hopefully Stewie can see some time again. We still don't know. But I think the thing is about the Liberty is that when Stewie goes down, while she has a little bit more range where she's a threat that Mercury has to be aware of, it's the height game that Jonquel Jones can step right in seamlessly too. And as long as you can keep pressure on DeWanna Bonner underneath the basket and Satu Sabali, as long as there is height there, which they have, I think I'm going to pick the Liberty to win this series because they've got the experience. I think they're going to have home court advantage. And when you look at why the Liberty won that game, I think Natasha Cloud is a huge, we're not saying, Stewie played a huge role, of course, but Natasha Cloud popping off late, especially popping off in OT, was the reason that you could really put the nails in the coffin. And Mercury had bad scoring droughts, bad. Alyssa Thomas didn't score her first points until halfway through the second period. If you want to win a championship, you need to get her scoring points. I know Alyssa Thomas is a fantastic facilitator, and sometimes she chooses to facilitate rather than take the shot. But you need all the points from everybody you can get if you want to compete with the Liberty.
Yeah, no question about that. And I can't argue with any of those points. It's going to be rocking tomorrow night there at the Barclays Center where they sell out. And again, we talk about the WNBA success stories. For me, I start with the Liberty and where they were when Dolan sold the team and what the new owners have done in these past few years. It's just been remarkable in terms of turning this into not just it's WNBA. You need a New York franchise. Okay, here you go. They've turned them into a premier franchise, and now their first championship and trying to repeat. Again, it's going to be interesting. On the other side of that bracket is Minnesota and Golden State. Again, both of these games are tomorrow night. Minnesota looking very strong in game 1, but I can't wait to see the first ever playoff game in Golden State history there at Chase Center. It's been such a raucous, electric atmosphere every single night. And now they're the first expansion team ever to make the playoffs in year 1. That's a game I have had marked on my calendar since these past couple of days since we knew what the pairings were going to be, because that atmosphere is going to be on fire tomorrow night.
I don't know if there's anything more beneficial in the offseason that came than the format change to the postseason. Like, if I was after the Lynx Valkyries game, after I watched that, I was sitting there and I went and I told my boyfriend, I am so glad the Valkyries aren't done. How heartbreaking would it be to just they got thumped. They got thumped a little bit. It would be so heartbreaking for the season that they have had in their first season here. And Natalie Nakase is absolutely, I would pick her for coach of the year. Are you kidding? With the atmosphere that they have at Valhalla, the fact that they now get to go and give that fan base and sell out that fan base for their first postseason playoff game, I'm so excited for them. And I think they're going to have a tough task. Yeah. Home crowd advantage can only do so much when you're going up to, no debate, the best team in the league. And they have been the best team in the league all season. And particularly, you've got Nafisa Collier, who's kind of a shoo-in for MVP. She had 20 points. And then you've got, stud buds, they're lethal when they have the connection going. And particularly Natisha Heidemann, I think she's a front runner for 6th player of the year. And there is a reason for that, because when she gets on that court, momentum changes and they pick up the pace. And Veronica Burton had mentioned in one of her during game interviews that it was a very physical game and that conditioning was a really big part of what's happening right now. And Timmy Fagbenle, she's getting kind of bullied under the basket with the physicality. And when you haven't really prepared conditioning wise, when you've gone all season long, and in fact, Benley has been someone when she was with the Fever, she kind of rotated in and off of the bench, and she's a key player on this Valkyries team. They're going to have time. They had a day, to rest and reset and everything. But I think with their season on the line, I don't see conditioning being a factor tonight. But I think that the Lynx are just kind of too good. And I want the Valkyries to win, obviously, so we can get 3 games. I want 3 games, more basketball always. But the Lynx are the number 1 seed for a reason.
Yeah, the number 1 seed. They've had the Valkyries number. They went 4-0 against Golden State this year, including a couple of wins late in the season. They played twice in the final week, just the way the schedule worked out, one of those quirks. I'm with you. Win or lose, whatever happens, what a fantastic season. Boy, again, Natalie Nakase becoming a household name among those of us who follow the W with what she's done in year 1 as a rookie head coach. I mean, she was an assistant before coming in. And again, Golden State just finding ways, they've been Sportico earlier in year 1. Figure that they are the most valuable WNBA franchise at $500 million in year 1 already. They just find ways to make things work, and it's amazing. Now, again, the other side, how good is Minnesota right now? Like you said, they were without Nafisa Collier for almost 3 weeks last month with that ankle injury. They come right back. They didn't miss a beat. They go right through. They feel like right now as complete a team that there is in the W.
They returned officially all 5 starters from that finals loss to the Liberty last year. So when you look at it, especially now when you factor in the defending champs Liberty, injuries have been a thing for them. Knock on wood, injuries don't seem to be threatening the Lynx right now, and they looked healthy. They looked like they were firing it on all cylinders, and they are ready to get that championship, and that's been their goal all season long. And I think the Valkyries have a steep road to climb. They can do it if they figure out how to limit pieces. You can't attack the Lynx as a whole. They're going to go too fast. If you can focus on either you got to get down on the other end of the court because they're going to work really well in transition. They're going to work that pick and roll. They're going to push the pace and be physical. You either go there or you sit there and you look at your offense and you have to make better choices. And when everything is moving so fast, slow the game down. And I think Natalie Nakase did a good point of in her post-game interview pointing out that we want things to be even. We want things to be fair. And I think if the Valkyries on their home court can control the tempo, can control the pace, they're going to have the Lynx a little off of their game. But like you had mentioned, they've played a lot the past couple of times. That's at a certain point, how do you outcoach someone you've played multiple times? It's just gonna be who's gonna not make mistakes in the clutch and who's gonna step up when you have baskets and you need them. And I'm gonna pick the Lynx to win, but I'm really excited to see the Valkyries and what they do on their postseason court for the first time.
Yeah, Minnesota coach Cheryl Reeve, of course, a legend in her own right, 4 WNBA titles, trying to get a record 5th here in this postseason. The other team, again, that kind of still some of the Minnesota's thunder, obviously, was Las Vegas, ending the season on a 16-game win streak, continued that dominance Sunday night. Once again, a team that, and we've talked before, Becky Hammond earlier pleading, cajoling, probably worse behind closed doors with this team to get them to strengthen up and to show some moxie. Finally happened. Big move to put Jewel Lloyd, one of the superstars in the league, saying, "I'll come off the bench." It felt like everything changed after that, and they just keep winning and they keep finding ways. We talk about how complete Minnesota is right now. Las Vegas seems like they're almost unstoppable.
I think it's been really interesting to see how to start this regular season. It looked like Lynx and Liberty, and Mercury were threatening, and then the Dream were kind of working in there. And then here comes the Aces in the second half, and they look just like the team that won back-to-back championships. They are really looking strong. And I think it's just the timeless question of how do you stop A'ja Wilson? Yeah. I don't know that answer. I think, I think Fee deserves MVP. The Lynx are the best team, but there is an argument to be said about, are the Aces anything without A'ja Wilson? And they have great pieces, right? I'm not disrespecting Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, Jewel Lloyd coming off the bench. They've got fantastic pieces, but A'ja Wilson is the heartbeat of that team for a reason. When you watch her in the game and you watch her highlights, and it's just with that height, with that quickness, she moves so fast and you have no idea what she's doing because she can do a quick step back, she can drive to the rim, she can give and go, and then she's gonna get on the other side and block you on the same effort. Like if I'm the Storm, you're thinking about how do I get the ball away from her? If you get the ball in other people's hands, then you can figure it out. But like double team, she doesn't care. She's gonna go right over it. And at times when the Storm are working through their lineups, they do have smaller lineups, and the Aces, and I think Becky Hammon in particular, is good at finding the mismatches. But I think there's a little bit of I want to highlight that Jewell Loyd is facing her former team, and she's coming off the bench, and this is the postseason, and it's a little bit of deja vu for the Storm because the last 2 times the Storm have been in the playoffs, the Aces have been the ones to end their postseason journey. And so now here's Jewell Loyd on the other side of it, trying to end her former team's journey. And I think when you look at the Storm's lineup, Skylar Diggins and Nneka Ogwumike, you're going to need more from them if you want to go up against the really totality that the Aces lineup can offer. Want to shout out 19-year-old Dominique Malogna. She had a double-double in her first career playoff game, and she's height that can go up against Wilson and Alyssa Smith under the rim. But she's young, and you need the veterans to step up. Like I consistently find myself wanting more in clutch moments from Nneka Ogwumike. This is your president. This is a super big off season with the collective bargaining agreement, and I know that there is a million things happening off the court, but she's a veteran. She is a leader, and I need her to team up really with Gabby Williams and Skylar Diggins and step up if you want to force a third game against the Aces.
Yeah, absolutely. Las Vegas, hard to believe they were 11-11 at the All-Star break, 22-3 since then, and again the 16 straight wins. And the other team we're not talking much about because of Minnesota, the winningest team. Las Vegas, the hottest team, is Atlanta right now. And the other Coach of the Year candidate, Carl Semesco, what he's done, putting this team together, bringing the other players, they were solid against an Indiana team that, look, I feel bad for Indiana because I can't think of any team that's had that many injuries to key players. I mean, season-ending injuries. I saw the picture of all of them together on the bench, and there's Sophie Cunningham with her leg and the big leg wrap, and it's like they're just a walking wounded, all there in street clothes. I give credit for Indiana, Coach White, everyone, what they have done. But Atlanta right now, again, another team that looks outstanding, and I can't wait to see if it comes to pass. This Las Vegas-Atlanta matchup in the next round is going to be really special.
No, looking at the Dreams lineup that they ran out there, like Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard, they had 20 points each. And Alicia had said in one of her interviews with Holly Rowe that the pressure is alleviated off of her now that Ryan Howard is back from injury, and it just gives her more options. Brianna Jones, former Connecticut Sun player, is invaluable under the basket in terms of height because you either have Brianna Jones or you have Brittany Griner. Good luck. The Fever are injured, they're undersized, and I think the Dream, especially when they had that first home game the first postseason home game since 2018, that atmosphere in Atlanta, like they were rocking and rolling. And I think regardless of them going to Indiana and being on the road, the Dream looked like the better team. And that is no disrespect to Kelsey Mitchell. She dropped 27, but the Fever are going to need more than just Kelsey Mitchell. And it's going to take, Odyssey Sims. And Odyssey Sims was okay. She definitely didn't have her best game, and that there is room for improvement in the Fever's starting 5 that they have right now, which is a good sign because it's not like, wow, they really played their best and they got thumped. Like they have the ability to go on their home court and force a third game. But when you look top to bottom from what the Dream are offering, it's going to be tough. And also the Fever only made 2 threes all game. You're not going to win a game with 2 threes going up against the Dream lineup that they have. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think the Dream have been really working for this. They loaded up in the offseason for a particular, they wanted to run for a championship. They knew that they were going to need really big pieces. And even someone like Jordan Canada on the Dream, who's a really great facilitator, and she's small, but she's fast. If you can run Indiana into the ground a little bit, they're already down. They're already depleted. They've already faced a lot of, adversity in the offseason. If you just pick up a pace, I think that the Dream are going to find themselves in that second round matchup.
Yeah, it's tough for Indiana. Listen, take nothing away. Aaliyah Boston, all-star, fantastic career numbers she put up. We already knew Kelsey Mitchell was great. She joined the MVP candidate, MVP conversation. But the same on the other side. Alicia Gray, the same thing for Atlanta. And the dream, remember, 30 wins. That's a franchise record. Yes, it's a 44-game schedule. They expanded by 4 games. But still, this is one. And again, Carl Smesko setting the record as well. Those 30 wins. No WNBA rookie head coach has ever done that. So, yeah, it is exciting. So, again, tonight it's Atlanta at Indiana and then Las Vegas at Seattle, the 2 games tonight. Lo, it is always so good to talk with you, and your enthusiasm just comes through the camera, comes through the microphone. Enjoy the games tonight, and we know look, like you said, it's going to be a very busy off season. So we'll be having a lot of conversations about just how things are going and how this league is shaped moving forward.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And I think you and I at least will be very excited to watch that Valkyries game.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannot wait. Whoop, whoop. Okay. All right. Lo, thanks so much. Lo Yarnall, once again, of Yahoo Sports, joining us, talking WNBA as the playoffs continue tonight with a couple of game 2s and 2 more tomorrow. It's a Sports IQ. We've got more to come. Keep it here.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
By the way, quick side note, I covered about 70 major championships, and one of my producers would find time at different major sporting events when beer was hard to come by. He'd find a way to get us beer. And we were always amazed he did that. And we would say, you know what? That's how you produce. Well, listen, producer Tony, this is how you produce. So a few minutes ago, before we talked to Lo, during our headlines, I talked about, coming up later, we've got in a few minutes here, Shannon Griffith talking Indiana Hoosiers. And I mentioned, I didn't think Illinois and Indiana had ever played before as ranked. Well, producer Tony, this is how you produce. He goes and finds it. So we have it not tomorrow, not Thursday, but today. It has happened once in October of 1950. 12th ranked Illinois beat number 19 Indiana 20-0 in Champaign. So producer Tony coming through. There you go. That's, folks, that's how you produce right there. Forget Dave and all those beers. That's how you produce. Illinois beating Indiana. It's happened once before. They'll play again this week. Number 8 versus number 19. More on that coming up. All right, there you go. Okay, hey, a little Major League Baseball action right now. AL East looking more and more like a Blue Jays kind of season. Trey Yesavage striking out 9 to set a Toronto record for a Major League debut. George Springer hit a tie-breaking single in the 11th. Blue Jays over Tampa Bay, 2-1. The Jays have won 5 straight, and if Yesavage can keep up this kind of pitching, it'll be a huge help to Toronto in the postseason. The 22-year-old right-hander, taken 20th overall in last year's amateur draft, allowed just 1 run, 3 hits, and 2 walks in 5 innings. He threw 49 strikes out of his 69 pitches. This kid was outstanding. 6 of his strikeouts were on splitters, and he induced 19 swings and misses. Remember the name, Trey Yesavage. Outstanding. By the way, Yankees in Minnesota trying to keep pace. Simeon Woods, Richardson strike out a career-high 11 over 6 innings. Austin Martin drove in 4 runs to lead the homestanding Twins over the Bronx Bombers 7-0. So New York now 5 games back of Toronto with its second straight loss. Yankees lead for the top wild card, though, in the AL, cut to 1 game over Boston. In Houston, Zach Cole homered, drove in 3 runs after replacing injured slugger Jordan Alvarez in the lineup. Houston over Texas 6-3. The Astros pulling within a half game of the red-hot Seattle Mariners atop the AL West and moved 3 games ahead of Cleveland and Texas for the final American League wild card. Geraldo Perdomo went 3 for 3 with a double, triple, and 2 RBIs. Zach Gallen pitched 6 smooth innings. The surging Arizona D-backs beating the Giants 8-1. Arizona, which has won 3 straight and now 12 of 18, moving a half game ahead of San Francisco for 3rd place in the NL West and just a game and a half behind the idle Mets for that last National League wild card. And at the NL East race is officially over, pretty much. JT Realmuto drove in the go-ahead run on a sac fly in the 10th, capping a wild 6-5 comeback victory by the Phillies over the Dodgers. That clinched the NL East title in the series opener between division leaders. Kyle Schwarber hit his 53rd homer against Anthony Banda in the first. It was Schwarber's 22nd homer against a lefty. That ties Stan Musial in 1949 and Matt Olson in 2021 for the most by a lefty batter off left-handed pitchers. That's according to Elias Sports Bureau. College football now. LSU knew that quarterback Garrett Nussmeier had a knee problem long before the season began, but since then, they've added another ailment, which is keeping him from being at his best. Coach Brian Kelly revealing at his weekly news conference on Monday that Nussmeier has been dealing with a dorsal injury the first 3 weeks of the season, and that's one reason that the Tigers' offense has been more pedestrian than people expected. Nussmeier has a completion rate of 65% with 689 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks for the Tigers. Hasn't eclipsed 300 yards passing in a game this season after he did that 8 times last fall for the Bayou Bengals. Okay, stay with us. A quick timeout, and then up next, Shannon Griffith talking Indiana Hoosiers football. The 19th ranked Hoosiers next on the Sports IQ.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. That's 800-507-7293.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Good to talk to you here once again. This is Sports IQ continues here at the 16th of September. I'm glad you're with us. Producer Tony has our next guest.
Well, thanks so much, Larry. And we are lucky to be joined by our next guest now, Shannon Griffith. He is the lead analyst at thehoosier.com, part of the On3 network. And Shannon, you're going to help us kind of talk about this Illinois-Indiana game, give us some of that insight into Indiana. And it's been a nice start for the Hoosiers. Granted, the schedule's been a little light, but they're doing what they should do in those ball games and making it look fairly easy.
Yeah, Indiana's gotten caught up a little bit on the scheduling aspect of things in college football due to Coach Cignetti's presser, where he just made a comment about the SEC, and that wasn't handled too well. But, you know, the ironic thing is the Indiana played Old Dominion, and Old Dominion right now just beat the you-know-what out of Virginia Tech, which cost that coach his job. And Old Dominion and ESPN's FPI rating has higher scores than 5 Big Ten schools.
Wow.
So now when you look at that win and you look at the data, which everybody seems like that's the end-all be-all, that win all of a sudden gets a bigger boost based upon that information that we do have now that you didn't have then. So, you know, I always said, take the AP poll and the coaches poll, throw it out the window until about week 4 or 5, where everybody's got a true handle on all the teams so that you can make rational decisions. But that wouldn't be any fun because there wouldn't be any arguments.
Right. There wouldn't be any preseason poll. You couldn't argue about who was in, who was out, all that kind of stuff, which kind of helps, has always been part of the college football fuel system in there. Talk to us a little bit about the offense so far for Indiana. You know, he had replaced the quarterback. Mendoza's come in and has done a really nice job. They kind of expected that he would fit well into this system, but he has done maybe even better than expected. The offense just really hasn't missed a beat, have they?
Well, they haven't in the sense of what they've been able to do this straight 3 weeks. I think where you've seen Mendoza get better is his comfort within the offense. Having come from Cal, where he had over 40 sacks, the one thing that they had to work with him is staying in the pocket. And you really can't get into that until you start getting into live game fire. And I think over the last 3 weeks, he's become really comfortable in the offense, knowing everything, being able to utilize the run pass option that was so effectively done last year with Curtis Rourke. And what Mendoza has over Curtis Rourke, he has a very quick delivery. The ball gets in and out of his hands very quickly. and he can fit the ball in tight windows. And I guess that's where some of the accolades have come about him potentially being a top NFL draft pick because of those situations, size, strength in his arm, and being able to make throws and fit, throws into tight windows. So he's really come along. But I'll tell you where the best thing that Indiana's done thus far, and it's in two areas. Number one, the offensive line is better than it was a year ago. And even though a year ago that offensive line played quite well, they did struggle against those upper echelon teams that had bona fide big-time defensive lines. This year's offensive line, I do think, is more atypical looking Big Ten offensive line. You got Pat Coogan, the Notre Dame transfer, who's come in and done quite well. And that was a huge get for Indiana from last year. And he's done quite well. And that group has done well enough that the Indiana's rushed for over 300 yards in each of the first three ball games. And you've got Roman Hemby and Keelan Black, who's those two guys have done well. Unfortunately, they lost their other kid, Lee Beebe Jr., who came in from Alabama, Birmingham. Very, very good running back. He's going to be lost for the year now with a torn ACL. So that one stings a little bit because he was a great fit in a three-man rotation. So they will bring up a freshman, Kobe Martin, out of Fishers, Indiana, and be that third back. And that young man, all he did was go out against Indiana State and rush for 109 yards after that injury to Beebe. So he did it within a half. So he's a pretty talented kid. So right now, I guess you could say Indiana heading into the Big Ten season, offensively speaking, I think are hitting on all the right cylinders, and mostly because of Mendoza's being more comfortable within the offense.
And that's a key thing. I think a lot of fans kind of miss this point, but when they see Indiana going up tempo, and they run a lot of up tempo, faster pace, most people always associate that with a passing offense. But this is not a passing offense per se, because if you look at the stats, it's about 55-45 percentage-wise as far as yards gained in favor of the rushing offense. And then they have that, like you said, it's a little different three-headed monster now, but it's a three-headed monster that's getting 6-7 yards a carry out there.
Yeah, Hemby, I think, is underrated back in the Big Ten. He is big, strong, and he will run you over. Keelan Black gives you a little bit of a same out of that equation. But you're correct. What I always thought Indiana's done well over the last couple seasons, this goes to probably Coach Shanahan, the offensive coordinator. When you look at their breakdown, run pass, they're pretty close to being 50-50, which is it's very hard to do. I mean, a lot of coaches say, yeah, we want to be 50-50, and that's usually coach speak. You're usually going to get a mix of 60-40, that type of deal. And over the last couple of years, they've been able to do this where they've gotten it pretty equal, which makes it harder to defend because the defense can't just say with certainty what is going to come at them. And that's part of the RPO game that gives teams trouble and puts teams in conflict. And I think Indiana is one of the best teams at putting a defense in conflict when it comes to defending early down run pass situations. And that's where Indiana's done a great job over the last 2 years. They've been efficient on first and second down.
And you mentioned, some of the incoming transfers in the portal, like Pat Coogan on the offensive line, but Curt Cignetti has really found a way to recruit some and portal some and make it a cohesive unit. That kind of speaks to the culture that he's instilled at Indiana as well.
Well, he would rather rely on his recruiting classes more so than going out and having to flip a roster every year, because that is not a sustainable formula. And this is now he's got, I think, his second class under his belt, truly where they've been able to go from point A to point B in the recruiting process. And they've been able to get some quality kids. I mean, they've gotten some 4-star kids that they normally wouldn't have gotten. And they've had some heartbreak along the way in the recruiting battles that you have, where they're knocking on the door of getting some of the more talented 5-star prospects. But with that being said, is you're correct, is ideally he wants to be more dependent on his roster of recruiting and use the portal to fit the pieces that they may be missing. And the more you can do that, it's going to be a better fit naturally in your locker room, rather than trying to have to turn it off over a roster each and every year, which I think would be very difficult to do.
I think one of the key matchups in this game, when you look at Illinois versus Indiana, is it's really going to be a battle in the trenches. The Indiana offensive line against the Illinois defensive line. Illinois is deep, talented. They rotate a bunch of people. They've got some speed rushers on the outside that can create havoc. How does Indiana match up in that situation? How do you think that's going to play out Saturday?
Well, I guess in some respects, I think Indiana goes against, probably offensively, goes against one of the best defenses in the Big Ten each and every week from spring all through fall camp in their own defense. So I think they get some of that flavor, in that regard, in their own competition from within. A team that can rotate, too deep at the defensive line is always going to have I guess you would say, a hand up in the battle, so to speak, because normally offensive lines continue to play those same guys for every snap of the game. So when you look at that, I mean, that's where I think Indiana's run pass game has to be something of significance in a ball game like this to keep a defensive line guessing. That's going to be the key thing there, is guessing. And I think the one thing that Indiana has to be able to do to run the football is they have to continue to build upon what they've already put on tape. And when you average 300 yards a game, it puts a little stressor on the defense and in the mindset of, what do you do? Who do you take away? Do you take away Hemby and force Mendoza to throw? I'm not sure I don't think that's a good thought process either. Or do I say, well, I dare you to run? Well, I don't know if that's a great process either. So you can see where defensive coordinators can become in conflict on what they do and how they want to attack a team. And the biggest thing is keeping things on schedule. And I'm sure that's the same thing for Illinois with Altmaier. The more you're on schedule, the more difficult you are to defend, and you're not becoming one-dimensional. And I still think that's Indiana's mindset as well, is staying on schedule to keep those defenses guessing, because once they start pinning their ears back, it's always difficult from that point.
I mean, it's going to be an interesting quarterback matchup. Altmaier on one side, Mendoza on the other. Should be fun to watch. But this game may actually come down to, look, we know Brett Bielema believes in running the ball first. And Curt Cignetti wants to have a good ground game to be able to match things up. It's really, to me, like with a lot of football games, especially college football games, whichever team can control the ground game has a significant advantage in the outcome of that contest, right?
Yeah, and I think this is more proven in some respects over time, that those that run the ball the most effectively and do not create and do not have turnovers have a better chance of controlling a game against the team that turns it over, makes mistakes. I mean, you look at your guys' Duke game, a very difficult game on the road. And I think Duke turned it over, 5 times that day, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least that's what I thought I saw, was a 5 turnover game, because that game was tighter than it finished. Illinois kind of exploded for a lot of points in the second half. And I looked at the turnovers, and there were quite a few. And that's what happens. You turn the ball over, you're going to get burned. Indiana was one of the tops in the country last year in points off of turnovers. They had somewhere in the neighborhood of like 120 or something points off of turnovers. That's a killer for a team. I mean, that's like doubling the score. So those are big factors as well, is not making big mistakes by fumbling the ball or throwing interceptions.
Give me 2 points that you would think would point to Indiana having a really good day and coming out on the right side of this score? If you said Indiana, if they do this and this, it's going to be a good day.
Number one, I think Indiana's special teams has been a big factor in their first 3 wins with Jonathan Brady as their punt returner. He set up at least 4 scores and returned a punt 91 yards against Old Dominion. So he's a factor in this ball game, especially in the special teams realm, because that in itself is a huge part of these type ball games, is how special teams fit into the picture. So I think if they can continue to be on point with winning the hidden yardage game, and then from the standpoint of offense and defense, you got an offense that's, got to continue to run the ball with success and efficiency, and a defense that is right now starting to gel quite effectively. And we saw that this past week against Indiana State. They held them to 77 yards total. And what had hurt Indiana in the other previous games was just a lackluster of miscues that led to big chunk yard plays. And that's what they can't do. They cannot give up the big time play to Illinois, because in some respects, that's where they get their point totals too. They get their points totals off of big plays when you give up chunk plays. So defensively, Indiana is going to have to make Illinois earn every inch of yardage they gain or score. And Indiana's offense has got to be able to continue to run the ball with efficiency and make sure that they keep an Illinois defense guessing on the day and putting them in conflict, because that takes a lot out of the coordinator's hands.
It's going to be an interesting matchup. Prime time on NBC, Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern. Illinois.
Sold out.
Sold out. It's a whiteout, isn't it, for Indiana?
I think I've heard something to that effect, but it's new ground for Indiana. Having these type of games, I think this is their first ranked matchup they've had in somewhere of 20 years, where they've had 2 ranked teams coming into Bloomington playing a game. When you have the 9th ranked team and the 19th ranked team playing each other, but Vegas has Indiana as a 4.5 point favorite. Now figure that one out.
We'd all be rich if we could figure that one out.
We'd be rich.
Shannon Griffith, thank you very much. Shannon Griffith, lead analyst for thehoosier.com, part of the On3 network. Appreciate you taking some time and sharing some insight on this Illinois-Indiana matchup Saturday night.
Absolutely.
We will be right back on the Sports IQ after a quick timeout.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
Okay, so week 2 of the NFL is closed off now. Boy, what a way to finish last night. Saw parts of the second game, saw most of the first game last night, producer Tony. And, the Bucs, Baker Mayfield, here's the thing. He's a mature quarterback, and he may be, and I don't know if it's even possible in the NFL because everyone gets talked about all the time, he may be the best quarterback nobody talks about. I thought he was brilliant in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about Baker Mayfield, he weighs what, maybe 175, 180 pounds? And probably 160 of that is heart. I mean, he just keeps going out there. He gets banged up, bounced around. He'll run when he has to, bounce off defenders, flying through the air last night on that last drive, landing on his hip, just getting right back up, keeps going. He is one of the best quarterbacks nobody ever talks about. And, if Cleveland would have just had some patience,
Yeah.
imagine that defense with Baker Mayfield at the helm instead of Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
They're at least 1-1 at this point instead of 0-2. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
So Cleveland, you might want to learn a little patience in that front office because you're not doing your fans or your team a real service bouncing around from quarterback to quarterback.
Yeah, didn't I see a stat, and these numbers aren't correct, but it's close. Something like 19 starting quarterbacks in different quarterbacks in like 20 years. Like no one's had more start. I mean, it's like 19 to 24, I think. 19 different starting quarterbacks on opening day in 24 years. It's something like that.
Yeah, since they came back as the Browns in 2001, I think it was. So it's been a revolving door. If the Bears are the graveyard of quarterbacks, well, you're kind of in the ambulance or the if you're going to Cleveland, you're not doing real well if you're a quarterback. Oh man, drafted by Cleveland, my career's over.
Exactly. If Chicago's the graveyard, Cleveland's the ICU. It is.
Yeah, exactly.
So, oh my God, I must be critical at this point. This is exactly. So it's crazy. What is? I don't want to take. I want to get your thoughts. I mean, I've got some thoughts in terms of things impressed me through 2 weeks. What are your thoughts 2 weeks in?
Well, a couple of things that I'm looking at is one. How about those Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones? 10 straight possessions to score to open the season. Man, that's impressive. And another team, boy, New York fans, wouldn't you like to see Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley in the backfield still for the Giants? Another team, you might not be 0-2 if you had a little bit of patience or could figure out a way to keep some people hanging around. So give Daniel Jones a big thumb up. I don't know if he can do it all season, but sure looks good now. And I'm really impressed with that Chargers defense.
Yeah.
They lose Khalil Mack in the first quarter to what looks like a pretty severe injury. We may know later today, tomorrow, how long he's going to be out. But all they did is rally around each other and continue the pressure. Look, Geno Smith had no time to do anything last night. He was under constant pressure from the moment he stepped on the field. They probably started pressuring him in warmups before the game. I mean, it just wasn't pretty you feel bad for the guy, but it was a great effort by the San Diego Chargers.
You went for the jugular there on the Giants fans. They're finding voodoo dolls with the stick pins to get back at you with that. That was nasty, but it was right. You're exactly right. I think you're right on the other end. The Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I was watching Sunday with some friends, and right away they're like, is the dynasty over? Probably. I mean, I think it's been a great run. Not to say that they can't retool behind Mahomes and get some guys later, but it doesn't. When you look at the play last year, they found a way. They were the cardiac kids. They found ways in the fourth quarter to win games. I mean, there were several games they had no business winning, but they just found a way to do it, and that's the magic of Mahomes. That magic ended in the Super Bowl, and they still haven't found their mojo. I mean, they're now 0-2, and there's a hole now, and it's not very good. The other team too, the Chicago Bears, so much hype going in, and this is the thing about culture. And I haven't finished it. I've watched the first half of the Jerry Jones Cowboys documentary on Netflix. And one thing Michael Irvin was talking about was guys, when he got there, he was stunned coming from a highly competitive program like Miami, the University of Miami. Coming to Dallas as a rookie, he said these guys they're just drawing a paycheck. Like they're just there going through the motions. It feels like that's what it's like in Chicago, and it takes time to purge those people. So this may be another tough season for Chicago. I still think they'll get better before it's all said and done, but don't expect a miracle in year one with the new regime there. It's going to take some time.
Well, remember Dan Campbell in Detroit, it took a while to turn that culture around. If I'm not mistaken, what did Dan lose? His first 8 games?
I think so.
As head coach with the Lions, something like that, before they won like 3 of their final 7, and they said, "Oh, maybe there's something here." And then they got to 500 the next year and came close to the playoffs. And then last year they win the division and look really good, except they got decimated by injuries. You're going to have to give Ben Johnson time to not only get the right people, but to change that culture, to change that attitude, and make sure that you are as one when you take that field.
Yeah. Again, this is a franchise that has just one double-digit win season since they fired Lovie Smith for having double-digit wins. That's just where they are right now in Chicago. Not good. Anyway, okay, more NFL talk I'm sure to come. Hey, we've got a moment of awe coming up, and it's one that's, let's just say this. Good luck, Joe Burrow. Moment of awe next.
Are you tired of your website making your business look bad? Is your current web developer dropping the ball? Let's face it, if your website isn't making you money, it's broken. Let Neon Rain create a website that turns your visitors into customers. Neon Rain has worked with hundreds of businesses across North America, building custom websites and applications with modern designs that are easy to update and work well on mobile devices. They can do it for you too. What sets Neon Rain apart? They actually deliver on their promises. Call today for a free consultation. 303-957-3092. That's Neon Rain at 303-957-3092. Or visit them at neonrain.com.
Time now for a moment of awe. Really, it's a moment of ow, I guess. Remember Andrew Luck, the Colts' great quarterback, who retired early? He was sacked 174 times in 87 career games and decided, you know what, I'm beat up. I can't do anymore. Well, listen, Joe Burrow goes out in game 2, right? Week 2 for the Bengals, and he'll be out at least 3 months, maybe for the whole season with toe surgery now coming up. How rough has it been for the former number 1 overall quarterback? Well, he's been sacked 201 times in just 76 career games. That's more than 2 sacks per game. You got to wonder if maybe the Bengals, if they don't get some offensive linemen, that Burrow, who has a lot more money now than Andrew Luck did when he called it quits, Burrow just says, you know, I've had enough of this. At your moment of ow. Thanks again to producer Tony. That's how you produce. You find moments of ow, either way. Hey, thanks to our guest, Lo Yarnall, Shannon Griffith, and for you as well for stopping by and spending an hour with us. It's a Sports IQ. We do it every weekday, Monday through Friday. We promise we'll be back here again tomorrow on Wednesday. Make it a great day. We'll see you tomorrow on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.